You are listening to the Billy Dees podcast. We are waiting just a minute for everyone to engage the live stream. Remember, you can find the Billy Dees podcast on your favorite platform.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the program live on X. If you're new here, we, just wait just a moment for everybody to engage the live stream, and then we go ahead and start the podcast. With me is Shamanisis. Shaman, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Looking forward to today's episode.
Yes, it's going to be good. Okay. Well, I believe we're waiting just a moment, and we let that moment pass. I'm going to go ahead and start. So thank you for joining us, and the podcast begins right now. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am absolutely thrilled that you are here. If you've never checked us out before, we are primarily an interview and a commentary-based podcast. Today, we are commentating away, and we're doing it live on X and in the number of other platforms as well. My co-host is Shamanisis. Shaman, how are you?
I'm amazing. Enjoying the summer.
Awesome. Well, that's a good thing. It's pretty hot there in New York this year, which is
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, it's hot in politics as well. We're going to talk about
it's sure hot and messy.
We're going to talk about the debate now as we're going live here. This is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, well, roughly 8:03 p.m. now Eastern Standard Time, and the debate is about 1 hour away. And if you're listening to the playback here, we're not necessarily going to try and make any predictions. It's not like we're going to make this prediction and A and B happened and C didn't. That's not really what we're going to do. This debate is the unofficial launch. Not that the campaign hasn't been going on for 4 years already. But this is this is kind of going to kick off. What happens after this is going to happen very fast leading into the conventions and a lot of other things. So we're going to talk about the debate tonight, maybe what to expect in general, what the talking points for both campaigns are going to be, how the public feels about it, how the media has been handling it, and a lot of other things. So, Shaman, any initial gut feeling right now about anything involving the debate?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a hot mess. I'll be fascinated to see if Biden manages to. He's either going to be extra hyper, and we won't go there, or he's going to get caught flat-footed a few times. And Donald Trump it wouldn't be a debate if he didn't say something that would outrage people. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm going to make some predictions later in the program, very mild ones, not like specific ones, but in terms of tone and other things, to kind of set the mood. I have a little very quick video here, some sound bites about the debate. So to set the mood, I'm going to play this for you. Here we go.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
And you don't know her now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question because the question is radical left. Will you shut up, man? Listen, who is on your list, Joe? Who's on your list, gentlemen?
That last clip there is just hours old. That was Trump arriving at the airport for the debate. And my understanding is that he's getting a very big welcome in Atlanta. A lot of people lined up on the roads, on overpasses, and all these other things. So, it's going to be interesting. That's kind of a fun way of looking at the debate. And they are supposed to be fun. Let me just tell you a few things about the debate. It's going to be moderated by CNN anchors Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. If you do not know these two, in my opinion, this is like extremely dumb and even dumber.
They probably did that on purpose. Hey, a lot of people don't want to ruin their career. Getting in the middle of something like this. So,
well, I'm hearing more and more things, and we're going to talk about that. Biden and Trump will stand at lecterns decided earlier by a coin flip. Their microphones will be muted unless it is the candidate's turn to talk, which I actually think is a good idea.
Yeah, I do too.
And that's this way they're not interrupting each other. And because you can't, just two people, like that little cartoon we just played there, you can't learn anything from that. That's nothing but BS,
Yeah.
According to CNN's rules, Biden and Trump won't be allowed to use any props or pre-written notes. Okay. They will be given paper and a pen and water, which is because you got to stay hydrated, right? Their campaign staffs will not be allowed to interact with them during the debate. We're going to talk about this too. To meet CNN's debate qualifications, candidates had to appear on enough state ballots to reach the 270 electoral vote threshold needed to win the presidency. They must also receive at least 15% in 4 separate national polls of registered or likely voters that meets CNN's standards. So that for this criteria, okay, this means that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will not make it to the stage. Let me say up front about Robert Kennedy. First of all, it is an absolute travesty that he has not been given a Secret Service protection. I believe any reasonable person can agree on that.
Yeah.
This is a person his family name is synonymous with catastrophe in the United States. He's had very credible threats on his life already. There was a very serious one. Even the intelligence organizations for the United States government agreed there was a very credible threat on his life on the anniversary of his father's death, which was RFK. That was in 1968. So for them to just say, oh, well, he doesn't, this is total BS. And what you're being told about qualifying for anybody can qualify for Secret Service protection. That's kind of up to the discretion of the president of the United States. Carter very famously gave Ted Kennedy protection when he was a rival, when he was challenging him. Yeah, challenging him for the candidacy. He was his political rival, and he had the
Carter's a class act.
He is absolutely 100%. And to put somebody's life in danger and have your name, if I was Biden, I'd be very worried that something would happen to him. And the asterisk throughout history would be, because Biden didn't give him protection because he didn't want to legitimize his candidacy.
Yeah,
which
exactly
is
what I believe it is. And the Republicans and the Democrats, but they this is the one thing they collaborated on, which was preventing Kennedy from getting the traction that he actually deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Kennedy, in response to not being on the debate stage, is running this ad, and I'll play it for you right now. Here we go.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here. Over 70% of Americans want a different choice than Presidents Biden or Trump. They're tired of voting for the lesser of two evils. Presidents Trump and Biden colluded with CNN to block me from representing your voices, but I'm not going to let them silence us. Go to therealdebate.com to watch me answer the same debate questions live. I'm going to be on that debate stage with or without their permission. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I approve this message.
I believe he should be on the debate stage because we're in a situation where we have a retread of 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And the Kennedy supporters very rightly point out that this is a race between who you like less. The lesser of two evils. And I believe that the American public deserves better than that. Kennedy is bringing up some things like the food we eat and the connection with chronic disease in this country, and many other things. And he's nowhere near as liberal as people are making him out to be, his critics. Some kind of a left-wing wacko. That's not true. He's not anti-vax. That's not true either. So this whole thing is, and here's the thing: people hearing this, if you're listening to our podcast here today, and you probably are listening to a lot of digital media, and you probably have a pretty good impression of Kennedy. If you are, and statistically, this is true. This isn't my opinion. If you are a boomer, probably not hearing my voice anyway, and you're getting all your news from places like CNN and Fox. And the mainstream media has been ignoring the Kennedy campaign because they don't want it to, in their mind, hurt the Biden campaign.
Oh, yeah. They've been pro-Biden the entire time, even since the last election, before the last election.
How do you feel about Kennedy?
I actually really like Kennedy. Once my intuition told me it was not going to work, I just shifted focus simply because I'm trying to support having clarity and conversation around what is going to happen and not what could have happened. I think it's a shame, but I think it just proves some of the major issues. I mean, most of our politicians are retread garbage that are extraordinarily out of date. A lot of them are boomers who hold the majority of the wealth in the country. They are clueless about what the average person is going through, particularly our younger generations. And Kennedy gets all of that. He gets the seriousness of problems like big food poisoning people and causing chronic illness and knowing about it. Yeah. So, I think it's a shame, but I think he'll be a great voice over the next 4 years to call out important issues.
Yeah. There was a moment several months ago when I thought, well, maybe the clouds will part and he'll have a path to the presidency. And I'm going to have to say, I'm sad about saying this. And I know I have a lot of RFK supporters that listen to the podcast. I just don't believe at this point he's going to be able to pull it out. Yeah. And here again, the wild cards for me is I still do not believe that Biden will be in the race.
He may be in it. I'm not sure if he'll be in it.
Yeah, I can't believe that the Democrats think that this is the best option and to carry us to the year 2029. I can't believe that.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe the Democrats have believed that for several months now. That I think for about 2 months now, they finally I think there was talk deep in the power rooms of the Democrats that they knew they were just trying to get him elected so they could get the power. But in the last 2 months, it started to become quite evident that he's not going to make it through another presidency, just cognitively. And that's not me wishing him unwell. It's me basing that off of his energy and his aura and his performance.
Yeah.
And the American people deserve better, but the Democrats have shown their hand that they care about power over the American people. And frankly, I'm not sure the Republicans have done a much better job. I mean, our two-party system is a mess, and we need some fresh blood in politics, people willing to speak the truth and not be bought off by corporations.
That's why so many people were really going for, Kennedy, because of the fact that two-party system is, it's getting kind of old. I'll put it that way. Vivek Ramaswamy had this to say, and he had a lot of things to say, but I want to play this clip, and then we'll get into some strategy. Here we go.
And one of the things I really worry about for the country right now, John, is this. I think it's a very real possible scenario, is that Biden's coming in, you talk about coming in hot, probably going to call Trump a convicted felon. Well, let's play this out. A lot of legal experts believe this is going to be overturned on appeal or by the Supreme Court. And I worry about a scenario where, God forbid, we have another election. If Biden won it by a narrow margin and then the Supreme Court overturns it after the fact, and we know that actually affected the views of voters, I worry about this country. That's even worse than the suppression of the Hunter Biden story on the eve of the last election.
Yeah, he's got a point there.
He's good. He's smart. I just wish that they gave the kind of attention they give Vivek Ramaswamy to some female politicians.
Okay, fair enough.
He's not even holding an office that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's a valid point. The only thing I would say in response to it, not trying to defend it, is just there's not that many key players right now.
Oh, and he's also willing to say things that other people aren't, which is the number. I think that's the primary reason that they bring him on. But his influence financially helps a lot. And getting him a seat at the table, which is the main, it's the struggle that women have. They get less than 3% of venture capital. So, anyway.
Here, moving forward, starting with the debate tonight, the campaigns are going to be structured more or less like this. The Republicans are going to tout the problem with the border, and they're going to set the blame strictly at the feet of Joe Biden, who does bear a lot of it. Although this has been an ongoing problem for years.
Yeah.
But certainly Biden really, I don't know what the deal was. There's a lot of conspiracy theories there about expanding the electorate for more or less what amount to indentured servants.
There's
for
been
the
some sketchy stuff going on wherever there's a border, and they turned them into spaghetti strainers during the election. So I think there's a lot of truth to those rumors.
Yeah, there probably is. And that's something that the Republicans are really going to be pointing out. All the things he rolled back, all the double talk over the past couple of years. This is going to be something that is going to be a problem for the Democrats, and rightly so. On the other side of the coin, the weak spot for the Republicans, and I believe this has been understated, is going to be getting involved in social issues, and primarily the abortion issue. And getting in all of these arguments involving the LGBTQ plus stuff, because here again, I've been saying for a long time, if Republicans would just stick to small government, low taxes, strong defense, they would probably win most elections.
Yeah.
But they just can't stay away from any type of sexual, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting given they're a huge portion of their party are Christian nationalists.
Yeah. You got a bunch of people that, forgive my crudeness here, haven't seen a pussy in 20 years. And, and this is no, I'm being coy here, but you have men, old men, making decisions that impact young women.
Yeah.
And they do it with authority. And like they have this moral high ground when it comes to sexual preferences, what a woman does with her body, all of these other things. And what that has to do with governing the country, I have no idea. And if they just stayed out of those social issues, they would fare a lot better.
Yeah.
So
two things come to mind when you talk about those two issues. So Germany, the European Union had open borders for about 5-7 years, something like that now. And I remember when it first happened, because it was shocking, the footage. 7,000 women in Germany, 7,000 have been raped by people who poured in when that happened.
Oh, sure.
Just in Germany, 7,000 women. And so I think that's going to be part of that whole recipe. And then in terms of the Republicans, I don't know when they're going to wake up to the fact that the religious portion of their party that's always held it up is dying. I mean, a vast death. Almost 4,000 churches closed during the pandemic years, and they continue to close at record rates. And they're not growing; they're actually retracting dramatically. And so for them to continue with that line, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that Trump was involved, I think they'd be in serious trouble.
Yeah. So those are going to be the two juggernaut issues for both parties.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, there's going to be the Hunter Biden stuff that the Republicans are going to use. And then on the other side, of course, is going to be the convictions that Donald Trump has. And that's what Vivek mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is a good thing for Democrats because, like Vivek said, the future of those convictions is very much up in the air.
Yeah.
And the other thing is most Americans, even if they don't like Trump, concede that this was hush money over what happened with, a sexual worker, for lack of a better term. This had nothing to do with what other presidents did that seriously impacted our society, impacted our service people, life and death issues. This had nothing to do on anything on that order.
Yeah.
Mario Cuomo was on TV the other day saying that his history with New York would have been that this is something that never would have gone to trial had his name not been Donald Trump.
Oh yeah. I think that's clear to everybody. And if the Democrats bring it up, I actually think it's just going to remind people of how conniving they've been the last couple of years and how sleazy they've all been sleazy.
Yeah, this idea that they're not some people aren't going to vote for a convicted felon. I'm sure there's that element, but there's also a much bigger element by my gauging that people think that this was more weaponizing the Justice Department to give the advantage to President Biden, which in the long run has hurt them more.
Oh, yeah. And I think that shows how disconnected the Democratic Party is from the average American who's angry about what's been going on for the last few years in terms of these capitalism being out of control and corporate greed, basically ruining a lot of lives and killing people's savings and crushing the middle class. And people were very angry. And all they did when they went after Donald Trump for something that was so ridiculous and were clearly dying to get him on charges convicted was give them something to identify with a billionaire.
Yeah.
They made him Robin Hood of politics. Yeah. And that was the dumbest thing they could do. And we called that, we talked about that 6 months ago, that is what would happen if they kept up that behavior. And I have to mention that Congress has shelled out $17 million in hush money due to sex scandals.
Yep. Interesting.
$17 million Congress has paid people for things that have happened at Congress.
Yeah.
That's the taxpayer money.
It sure is. It sure is. And I got to tell you this, what they've done is what the Democrats have done to Trump with this conviction is they've turned him into Jesse James.
Yeah, basically.
They've turned him into an outlaw that you love.
Yeah.
And so anyway, around the periphery, coming to air here, there's been some scuttlebutt that a lot of, first of all, there isn't going to be an audience in the debate tonight. And there's some scuttlebutt that a lot of journalists have been denied access into that room. I don't know how true that is as we go to air, but it comes on the heels of what has happened with CNN. And keep in mind that this is a historic debate in terms of, I don't believe there's ever been a time when a president has debated his predecessor for the new office. This is something that is pretty, this is new territory. CNN has apparently warned any YouTube channels that intend to live stream the debate while providing commentary for viewers that this would not be permitted under copyright. The debate will be hosted, again, like I said, by Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Now, getting back to what I said about this moral high ground, and when you listen to them two talk, they have this. Well, here's how we do that. They sound like a Sunday preacher.
Oh no,
they don't. Yeah, they have this self-righteousness about them that's quite frankly sickening.
Yeah, a lot of the mainstream TV talking heads have that whole thing.
Yes, yeah, they do, and CNN apparently, in light of what I just mentioned here, wants that to be the narrative. However they shape this, they don't want people out there commenting on the debate while it's unfolding, other than these two here.
Yeah.
Now I got to tell you, there isn't in terms of broadcasting. And the finer points of this I'm not going to get into, but generally speaking, any public figure on the order of somebody who's holding an official office, the president of the United States speaking, that's not like a character. Okay, that's not like Rambo giving a speech. That's a copyrighted character. Anything that the president of the United States talking about is the absolute crescendo of fair game in terms of how you treat it, how you talk about it, and everything else. And I just find it really bizarre.
Oh, it's not bizarre. They had like under 100,000 viewers the other day is what I heard. I don't know if that's fact, but I know their numbers have been absolutely dismal. And they are so, like many of those mainstream media who've lost so many people to X and to TikTok, they're doing this because they desperately want to draw people back. And frankly, for them, it's worth the gamble. They don't care. Well, they'd rather drag it through court for a few years and shut everybody up and make sure they drive as many people to CNN as possible. It's a gamble, but I think it actually makes sense given their situation.
In fairness, Fox attempted something like this, but they dropped it a number of years ago. And quite frankly, to me, it very much sounds like they know that this is not going to be an audience that they are going to hold. This is a one-off. Okay, this is like some small rinky-dink television station getting to handle the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's a big game, but once that game is over, people are not going to come back. So they can't parlay this in any way. The only reason people are going to watch it is because they're the ones carrying it. So, and here again, I really think that they miss the idea of being able to control the narrative, being able to mold these stories the way they want to.
Yeah.
So, this whole thing, I don't like any of it in terms of how this is being handled. I did mention that I do like the idea of turning off the mic for the person whose turn it isn't to speak. I do like that idea because it just turns into an argument of bickering. Yeah. And so I do want to talk just a little bit about Julian Assange, and I want to ask your opinion about that. But before I do, I'll just give you a couple of general predictions. As here again, as we're live, it's almost 8:30. It's 8:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For listening to the replay, like I said, we're talking about setting the stage not only for the debate coming up here later this evening, but what the campaign are going to sound like. I got a couple of just general predictions here. I believe that this debate is probably going to be very scripted on both sides. I think there's going to be a lot of pat answers here. Trump might throw in some zingers here and there, but in particular for Biden, it is going to be very scripted. I actually do believe that Biden will do very well tonight. They've been working with him for about a week. They've probably had him repeating these lines over and over again.
Or sleeping.
Stick with these lines. No matter what Trump says, come to these talking points. Don't veer off the path. Don't improvise.
Don't tell stories from your child.
Don't tell about Uncle whoever, Uncle Bernie, the Uncle Fester.
Oh.
Uncle Fester was, fought in the Revolutionary War.
I know. Oh, so bad.
Don't do any of that. And
if Trump just keeps his mouth shut, he should be fine.
Yeah. If I do believe, like I said, that I believe that Biden will do very well. For Trump, I would really strongly suggest, if I was his marketing person,
does he even have one of those?
I don't know, but what I would do is pretend like, pretend like Biden isn't even there.
Yeah.
Talk directly to the camera, talk to the people, smile, make jokes like you did on Logan Paul's podcast, or Jake Paul. I always get those two confused. One of the Pauls.
So do I.
Have some fun. Show your congenial side. Show your humorous side. Short and impactful answers, and that's a mantra of mine when it comes to creating content. Short and impactful. Don't belabor a lot of points, a lot of detailed answers. Even if you're correct about everything, people don't follow it. Short and impactful. I'm hearing different things about the VP pick. I don't know if that's going to happen tonight. We'll just have to wait and see. As we went to air, I didn't have any information on it. Biden is likely, like I mentioned, to go after Trump on abortion, women's rights, all that stuff. He's probably going to mention January 6th, although I think that's starting to backfire a little bit. Yeah, and the convicted felon thing, like we talked about, is probably not a good idea.
Huge mistake. Yeah, I actually think it's. No, I would not advise that.
Trump is going to go after him on illegal immigration and the weaponized justice system, as I already said.
Hunter Biden laptops, Russia thing.
Yeah, and I actually think that the microphones being turned off will help Trump.
Yeah.
Because he has a tendency to ramble, interrupt, and everybody's point gets lost. And I think the fact that he is going to have to stay in a certain lane is actually going to help him if he can take advantage of it. I know a lot of people are predicting that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will, really try to come off as balanced and fair, but I don't know why. Even if they do, it's not going to seem that way to me because I've heard them talk about things regarding Trump that has nothing to do coming out of a journalist's mouth. And here again, this has nothing to do with if you like Trump or not. I mean, they practically call him Hitler, in their
I
descriptions.
have heard some of them call him Hitler.
And so my criticism of that is, can't you be more creative? I mean,
well, and it's also incredibly insulting to the millions of people that Hitler murdered.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
wow, really. I think the dumbest thing that CNN could do would be to show their blue flag tonight. They have a really incredible opportunity to win over people on both sides, and the dumbest thing they could do is piss off 50% of them.
Yeah. And here's my final my final thing, and then I'll let you respond. I don't think that this debate is going to be that extraordinary unless something really dramatic happens, like one of them keels over. I really don't think that this is going to be extraordinary. I do think that it's going to set the tone for the campaign to come. Now that summer is heating up, not only in terms of the temperatures that we're feeling across the country, but the lead up to the election now is and the speculation about the candidates, what may or may not happen with Biden, what's going to happen with the vice presidential pick. All this stuff is really going to heat up, and time is going to start moving very fast. And that's my prediction. I don't think that the debate itself is going to have any impact. If you are a staunch Biden supporter, this isn't, whatever happens here isn't going to make any difference. You're still going to think that he's sharp as a pin and he's the most brilliant man alive and he's the best we got. If you are
borders on delusional.
Yes, and same goes for the staunch Trump supporters. He's the best thing since George Washington. He has done no wrong, and everything he says is ordained by God. And those people are not going to change their minds. Now, what I just mentioned represents huge swaths. I said huge. Let me tell you, it's huge. They represent huge swaths of the voting public, but the battle that's going to win this election is for the very small group of people in between who are going to try to make an educated choice and are going to try and be objective about their what they're doing. And that's where the battle is really going to be. And you got to keep in mind, with this kind of a shape up, 5% of those people can win the election. Okay, because it's so 50-50 down the line with most of the electorate. So that little difference, those people who just are undecided, those people who just can't quite stomach either one of them and which one are they going to choose, those are the people that you got to get. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, that's all the more reason, if I was advising either one of these guys tonight, is be reasonable to the people who are undecided. If you cater to your base too much, what you're going to do is people that are tuning in tonight that are still undecided, you're going to turn them off. You already got the radicals. You already got your staunch supporters in your pocket. You don't need to win them. You need to win the people that are undecided. I'll throw to you for a final thought on the debate.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice, Billy. I think that they should just be smart and speak to the undecided voter tonight and stay out of the nastier things, and they'll both be right where they are, and it'll be a boring debate, which would actually serve both of them really, really well. But I'm really hoping for something spicy. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Oh, let's
have a verbal brawl.
Yeah. We're all hoping for some,
fireworks,
for some dirt. Yeah. Well,
can it get any dirtier than what's been going on the last few years? I know more about both of those families than I ever want to.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, if you think the storyline of a soap opera is unrealistic, you really got to check out Hunter Biden's story. Okay.
Oh, I know. I mean, if you went back 30 years and tried to tell somebody that this was going on with they would never believe you. They would think you were telling them the plot of a scandalous novel.
Yeah. Yeah. This kind of ties into the election. I believe this was politically motivated. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has agreed to plead guilty to a felony charge related to his alleged role in one of the largest U.S. government breaches of classified material as part of a deal with the Justice Department that will allow him to avoid imprisonment in the United States. And under the terms of the new agreement, prosecutors will basically seek the same sentence that he already has had 4 times served, blah, blah, blah. And so the long and the short of it is, we could go through all the details here, but what it really boils down to is he's going to get free. And this is something that a lot of people have wanted.
Yeah.
I'm really, I don't know. What's your initial reaction? Do you think this is the right choice?
Well, I thought it was the right choice for years. I was appalled by what they were doing. It was so politically motivated, probably from our services, which, is a shame. I understand people, have their reasons for what they do, but what they did to him was horrible. And I think that the reason that he was freed when he was because he was going to be turned into a presidential football.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree with that. And I think the information that he released was good information to know.
Yeah.
The only thing that kind of bothers me, and this isn't so much about Julian Assange, but moving forward, people who break the law, and I'm not saying whether he did or didn't. I'm just saying the general point about what you might call whistleblowers, what you might call people who breach the security of the United States to supposedly, do some sort of a good. When does it become, a problem? When is somebody going to do something like this and get a lot of people killed, or something else? It's very hard for me, anyway, to try to look at these situations and say, well, the outcome in this one was okay, so therefore we can let it go. In another situation, the exact same thing, the outcome may not be so good. So are you prosecuting on results, or are you prosecuting on the crime committed?
I think it's results.
It's results. Okay, fair enough. I would have to say I agree with that. But that can be a very dangerous way to do things. Don't you agree with that?
Oh God, yeah. And interestingly enough, today's crime can be tomorrow's non-crime, and tomorrow, the way things are, the way they're whipping things up from years ago and re-prosecuting people for them, you just never know.
It's the same thing with Snowden. Some really good information, but at what cost? What cost and how we determine these things in the future.
Yeah.
Now, I would agree with you. Knowing I really need at some point to really do a deep dive, so I know more about some of the subtleties of the law here. But my initial reaction is that he was treated harshly for what he did. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair assessment?
I think he was, and I think the reason why, and I think that's usually the dead giveaway. It really is the results, and the result of, people are still talking and learning about some of the information that Edward Snowden exposed. And I think when we're talking about the deaths of people, when we're talking about the life and liberty of people being taken away illegally and through highly deceptive means, that is, to me, that's when it's okay to do what you have to do. When you're doing it to make money, when you're doing it to screw the United States over, to be unpatriotic, to hurt people, I think that's when, the less publicity and the higher, conviction, if you will, or the stricter, you know what I mean? Like what's the word I'm looking for? The sentence.
The sentence.
The sentence should be quite strict.
Yeah.
When it's somebody who's out to hurt people, but when someone's trying to stop people from hurting the American people, stealing their life and liberty, then I don't know. I feel like, we need to know the truth, even if it's ugly.
Yeah. Yep. I would, like I said, it's a complicated issue. I believe it did get resolved as good as it could get resolved here with Julian Assange. And so now let's move forward and lesson learned. And hopefully we keep the right perspective on the next thing that comes down the pike that's similar to that. All right. Well, it's about 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means the debate's going to be starting here soon. In the coming weeks, Shaman and I will be following everything that's happening with politics, and not just politics, but like we often discuss here, how the media is handling this, the attitude the media has, both the legacy media and the digital media. I really find it curious that they don't like a lot of these individual people making comments about the debate. They're a lot better and a lot more versed than a lot of these cable news people are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And they don't care about sucking up to some corporation either.
Yes. And boy, we need more independent journalists out there. Elon, I believe has commented that you have the podcast Citizen Journalist. So all really great concepts. So with that being said, everyone enjoy the debates and enjoy with the news that's sure to come out over the next few days with the vice presidential picks and all this other good stuff. July 4th is just around the corner. So we're going to have some scheduled disruptions, but follow us, follow me on X at Billy Dees, follow Shamanisis at Shamanisis. We, in general, are going to be covering this stuff very well. So just follow us and keep tabs on what's doing. Of course, you can subscribe to the Billy Dees podcast. That way you don't miss anything. Shaman, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me at soultechfoundation.org or shamanisis.com, where you can see links to all of my social media. And I have to mention my new book, A New American Dream, How to Reignite the American Dream for Younger Generations, is coming out September 7th. So go check it out on Amazon.
Sounds absolutely fantastic. Shaman, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for listening to all the people that are out there. We really, really appreciate you listening to the program. And we will talk to you again very soon.
Thank you for listening to the Billy Dees podcast. Follow Billy Dees on X at Billy Dees for updates about the program.